So today we'll be continuing our look at German armor subjects with a older Tamiya kit of the Tiger 1 in 1/35th scale. This is specifically the later version. So let's get into her. Now, starting off right away with the main hull assembly is single cast. It does have a couple little parts molded in. What nice that they left this off to make assembly a little more detailed, but that's more nitpicky. Overall, it's a good, strong, sturdy base. Next up, we have two sprues containing all the road wheels, as well as the suspension parts, and a couple other odds and ends. All are very nicely cast, very detailed. No real complaints there, and no real surprises as far as assembly. Just typical Tamiya quality. Continuing on, various other parts. One thing I do want to point out is this is more me, just personal opinion, and less review. Is that I'm kind of disappointed with how the gun turned out. It doesn't have that. I guess that's word I'm looking for is impact that the gun should have. As the 88 millimeter was a big gun for its time, so obviously you'd want to have that sort of presence when modeling it. So I would say definitely go aftermarket for the gun barrel. It'll just look better, and yeah, it just my personal opinion. But getting back to review, this sprue contains some of the various other detail parts, as well as some of the hatches and internal gun assembly, tow cables, and a few other odds and ends, as well as the exhaust covers. Next up, we've got four sets of or two sets of track. Do prefer this over the rubber band type of tracks. I've had nothing but trouble with those. These I find to be more manageable. Now, one interesting note specifically about my particular copy here is I got it at a swap meet, and when I opened up, discovered it had two sets of this sprue, as well as a second set of decals. So, sometimes you luck out and get something extra. Now, since this is an older boxing, this kit does not come with Zimmer that you would see on the later models of the Tiger tank. So you would want to and need to apply it yourself. In my case, since I have two sets of parts, obviously a screw up, I can try again. But yeah, I think this is a little advantageous, but at the same time, it's really going to depend on what you're planning to do, whether you're going to do battle damage, heavy weathering, and the like, or if you really want something a little more factory fresh. If you're going factory fresh route, then obviously you want to get a kit that has the Zimmer already pre-applied. Going this way, you can sort of play with it in terms of field applications and the like, and do it to the extent that you feel would be appropriate for the particular tank and subject you're doing. But continuing on, again, detail is very nice. One interesting to note, though, is the turret cupola. It looks like they include the earlier style instead of the later, or at least on this sprue, they have the appears, or that, you know, I'll double check the instruction sheet once we get to that, but could be a different hatch. Forgive me. As I said, yeah, it is nice that you do have the option depending on subject area. Also comes with one figure. Casting on this is much better than on the earlier kit I had reviewed from Tamiya. Definitely a much higher quality casting. Given several options either for officer cap or a service hat, as well as the two different heads to go with those options. The main turret cupola is nicely done, as well as the gun mantle. Moving on to the decals, you're given a couple options. Quality is alright. There's a slight bit of yellowing with mine, but other than that, it's, you know, typical Tamiya quality. Let me get this stuff back in. Sorry about this. So moving on to the instruction sheet, the painting guide's separate, and we're given basically only two real options. Both look good, in my opinion. So in that front, you're pretty well stated. Obviously, in the instruction sheet, it tells you where all the Zimmerit's going to need to be applied. But other than that, it simply is, you know, fairly straightforward. The only area I would say that you might have some issues making sure you get all the road wheels on correctly, just because there's so many of them. Also, assembling the exhaust is going to be a little difficult just because you're dealing with some very tiny parts. So getting those together correctly and not breaking them accidentally is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Other than that, though, assembly of the main holes, you know, very straightforward. Nothing really jumps out as, you know, problematic. Let's see. Do like how that they give you the guide on how exactly the road wheels are supposed to attach to the treads. That's a nice little extra that you typically don't see. Again, you also have the full rear section of the gun, which is a nice inclusion. And I was right, that wasn't that hatch, was it for the side hatch. And yeah. Other than that, though, yeah, there's nothing really that jumps out as being too difficult. I would say this kit, I would say sort of in between beginner and advanced. So it's something that's not overly challenging, but at the same time not very. It has its set of challenges, but they're not something that I'd say a beginner would be overwhelmed with. So yeah, that was a look at Tamiya's late version of the Tiger 1 in 1/35th scale. So until next time.